Okay, good evening. It is December 14th, 2023. It is 7 o'clock, and this is the meeting of the Mendon Conservation Commission. We will now introduce ourselves. My name is Carl Hummel. I'm the chair.
Bob Sweet.
Leah Whiting.
Mike Amendolia.
And we have a clerk, our agent.
Isabella Genova.
Okay. We have two people here for two different projects, so we'll skip forward to those. Agenda item number 3, extend order of conditions for 74 Northbridge Road, DEP number 218-080. Continued discussion of request for extension from William Halsing of Land Planning for 74 Northbridge Road. We went on a site walk earlier this week, and the purpose of the site walk was to look at the flagging and compare it to the flagging that was done 3 years ago. There's no construction work that's been done, so he's asking for a standard 3-year extension. Any other comments from people on the site walk? Okay.
Is there any reason why nothing's happened yet?
We just haven't done anything yet. I'm not sure what direction we're gonna do.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the extension for the order of conditions.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor,
Bob, aye.
just to say aye.
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 Opposed? Passes unanimously. Since there's no one on the Zoom call, I get to do the, passes unanimously most of the time. Okay, so glad
Thank you very much.
you're zooming in and out. Okay. We also have people here in the room and I think on the call for agenda item number 6.
Correct.
Meadowbrook Woods, continue discussion on Bog Bridge and take action required. So I'm going to let Leah, you get to run this and
Okay.
figure out what we're doing with the paperwork and how many hoops we have to jump through and pressure treating and
They're hoops with fire,
yes.
pretty much. Hi Kurt. Hi Jared. Nice to
Hi.
see you guys again. So Isabella and I worked on putting the RDA together. And Isabella spent some time with Mia McDonald's. Once we filled it out, she is our DEP representative. And she flagged us and was not happy with the plans for the bridge. And there may be further intrusion from the, water encroachment as the beavers do their things. So she had some suggestions for us. Isabella, do you want to follow up with what she gave our suggestions as?
Yeah, so the reason we can't do an RDA is because in the RDA you have there's no room to kind of prove that you've looked at all the other alternatives.
Sure.
And so that's why we'd have to do an NOI, notice of intent, which would be more difficult because you'd have to calculate all of the footings in the concrete, or all of the concrete footings would be fill in the
Mhm.
wetlands. And I know
What was that again?
all of all the concrete fill, all the concrete footings they want to put in the wetland would be fill. And so that's different than, I know you said the bridges kind of up and down the trail.
That are already existing, yeah.
Yeah, so the DEP is cracking down on that and they have a huge stack, I guess, of bridges they're planning to make people pull out.
Oh.
I don't know if ours is in there or anything, but
Yep.
So
Well, it's not mine. It's just
Yeah.
a trail that I bought,
yeah, so
Does the DEP have a guide?
so she wants helical piles for a bridge if we were to do it in the wetland.
And what type? I apologize for not being up to speed, but could someone bring me up to speed? Are there
Yeah.
a set of plans that I could look at?
They're in, you have a tab in Meadowbrook Bridge that should have the printed ones. It might be further back in it's a yellow one.
I think they're put on like elephant's feet, those concretes. So
Yep.
DP doesn't want anything except a post or a helical thing. So could you interpret those as a post? Not really, but
So the concrete,
I know a post.
Screw in, it's
Oh.
like what the solar panels people do.
Oh, okay.
It's like serious.
Yeah.
Like a dense, you know.
Yeah. Into a lot of bony rocks will be difficult.
Yeah, machine out there.
Yeah, no, there's no getting
I
machines
think
out there.
that's more intrusive than.
It is, but it's the long-term
So,
concern,
yeah,
the concern with the impact of the wetland over
Well,
time.
I mean, is
There
this
shouldn't be anything.
what kind of structural bridge is this gonna be?
so it's,
Are we planning on driving?
No.
Tanks and pinwheelers over?
Hiking. Oh,
Hiking?
and
Bikes.
potentially mountain bikes. There isn't
A
really,
horse. could-
okay, a horse as well.
A lot of weight, right?
Yeah,
So these
yeah.
are like a 2x12 and every 6 feet, maybe they were gonna put, and that's where we went about, thought maybe a concrete, like an elephant's foot, you know, just. But DEP doesn't like anything in contact with,
Yeah.
it's like you can't just put pressure treated down.
Right, and it would have to be taller as well.
Yeah.
to
that's
account for any-
the other thing with the helical posts, all the water, and if the flooded area gets worse, it would go under, whereas the
Mhm.
bridge we have now, you know, we have all these volunteers who want to put it in, but in a year 5, when the wood degrades and it's just rotting.
Yeah.
So the easiest thing to do is gonna be to put stepping stones in. You can move stones around, or you could move, I walk the trail, there's already kind of a long fallen tree running there,
Mhm.
so you can move another one and kind of build out.
You can artfully place stone.
You can artfully change the trail.
Stones are naturally occurring and worms can crawl over it as opposed to a pressure.
You're moving
treated.
stone
I don't
in
know,
the
I'm
wetland.
not assuming you.
I'm talking about a concrete block like that. What's the difference between concrete?
Well,
block
this
like
comes
this
up as
and
opposed to
rock
a flat,
that you're talking
rock,
about?
it has no elevation. Just maybe a couple inches, something that you.
And it's
step on.
natural material.
And it's natural material, I think, I don't know.
It's still gonna get flooded out by beavers.
Yes.
Well, yes,
So-
but at least it's gonna be a hard place that you
Okay,
can walk
so-
on and you know where you're supposed to walk as opposed to.
Here's the other point. You can reroute the trail, except that's not gonna help you. Because there's not, I don't know how much room there is to reroute the trail. You were out there.
That's
know,
the
or-
private property issue that.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it could go probably like maybe 5 feet and then you.
Yeah, I mean, the whole crossing now with the work that the beavers have done has been decreased to, you know, from the edge of the beaver area to the corner of my property is probably no more than 20 feet now. And some of that is a stone wall on both sides. So actual crossing is probably not a lot. You could shift to the right or to the left, but that's not the issue where the raised area is, where you could shift to the right or the left. It's that the water's coming from both sides around it. So even if you shift right, you still are walking in it, or you shift left. So it doesn't change really if you go right or left. What could change a little bit is how you come off that, you know, the crossing where the stones could be, you know, the stepping stones would be less if you made the trail, you know, if you did a little bit of trail clearing, you know, you may need a few less stones to get across. I mean, obviously in the last couple of weeks, up until the last rain, it started to recede a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when you went out there though, but
I was on Saturday and it's already hard.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's not impassable anymore.
Yeah, so it's changed, you know, from when we started this in October,
Yeah.
where it's completely flooded to starting to drain and firm up, you know, so.
Yeah, and so if we do want to go the NOI route, we just, we just have to kind of start from scratch with the bridge design and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
But I don't see that trail getting any better.
Yeah, so here's the trail. And like. You can see there's the stepping stones, there's already a couple of them, and then along wood. So kind of, you could just build that out for now.
That's just one part of the problem.
Yeah,
do you have more photos or?
I have a few more. Here's like, that's the beaver dam, I think, and then the wetland. All adjacent to that like flooded area.
So where's the trail in that picture?
I'm standing on it.
You're standing on it, looking along it, or it goes along the edge of the water there?
Yeah, so. Like I'm standing like further up here. In the second picture, I'm standing here looking at this, so this is all water. On that side. I do have a few more pictures. Let's see. But so I think for now,
Who's that, the one you just showed, that's kind of the new extension that they've built in the last 2 months is that area. So, you know, in the last 2 months, the beaver dam used to just go to the wall, and now it's going from the wall to where this is showing. So it's
growing a little bit.
growing up until the edge, and now the water fills, and, you know, they just keep going higher.
And on the other side of that, there's now a new river.
Right. Yes.
The start of one there, yeah.
Yeah. So what the trail, you know, what a lot of people are doing right here, where the water's coming through, this comes through the stone wall right here, actually. This is where the stone wall is. So it drains through the stone wall, which is onto where my property is, goes
They go
down
west.
lines, back through the wall, and then it comes around. So it's kind of like two areas that, you know, a lot of hikers are avoiding. You know, that picture doesn't make it look as bad as it obviously was.
It almost looks like they can go over the beaver dam.
Well, yeah, the beaver dam's forming itself.
That's a hazard.
Yeah, so here's where like you could go left on
Oh, the
the
beavers, too.
trail.
Yeah, this is
And
where
keep
they're
going.
actually going over my property right here. So instead of going through here, they're cutting through that one.
And there you see like how close the trail is.
Yep.
They're just jumping over the wall.
Go back to that one picture that shows where they're cutting across the
Just
stone.
take 3 or 4 logs and just kind of.
You'd have to be careful
do
not
that
to
in
block
reinforcement.
flowing.
Continuous
Yeah.
logs are worse than.
I was gonna say, one part of it, two large logs.
Yeah, yeah.
And that yellow is what?
No trespassing. zone.
Couldn't
I get you.
we
I'm just
make
trying to
this
get
like
natural
a
materials that they
Right.
could just pull together.
permit, like a
Without-
cut tree lines right along that wall says, that's where we want you to go.
Yeah, but no matter where you go,
You're still gonna have to cross,
you're gonna cross. I mean, it's passable now.
Here's the
Oh, there you go.
corner.
That's a good picture.
See, it's totally wet up here too. The whole thing is wet.
And the trail is to the right of that.
In October, this was actually water
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
you know, this was coming through. And what they're doing is they're jumping over the wall up here, they're coming up
Big deal.
and through here and then back, and jumping over the wall and back to the trail. They're kind of cutting this whole corner now. They've already actually made a walking path that, you know, just goes straight now. It goes over my wall. I've had to help people over the wall just to get them over it when they're,
is it a lot of different people or is it just?
oh, lots of people,
Lots of different.
lots of, every weekend. that I'm
That's a
out
good
there.
thing, but yeah, hard to manage thing, yeah, okay.
Well, because they get onto my property and they just start following my trails to my campground. I have them sitting on my picnic table.
You don't want that.
You know, so it's not just so much about crossing the one little corner. That's not really the bigger picture. It's just,
they bring the burgers?
no, they don't. Put a little QR code to, you know, Venmo me $5 or something for every crossing, but.
How do we help Derek?
So I did mark it, you know, so people see that, but you know, I'm sitting at my area because I have a nice area overlooking the Beaver Dam. It's where my wife and I spend a lot of time. It's a very private area and we just sit there after work or on the weekends and, you know, we see the hikers coming down. They don't see us. We watch them, they watch them, they get, oh man, they start backpedaling, they're looking. And, you know, eventually they hop over and they do their thing. Some, of course, that's when we're there. Others just, you know, end up walking through our property, you know, and, you know, moving around. So,
One of the things you were saying out there now is if the ground freezes up, do we not have a problem for the next 2 months? If the ground stays frozen, would people be able to use the regular trail? In that
probably,
case, I
yeah,
think we have the time that we can do the full-blown NOI.
Yeah.
Notice of intent. Some of the filing fees would get waived because it's on town-owned land and we would be, the town would pay the Mass DEP fees. And that would allow us to come up with something that Mass DEP won't look at when they do their review.
Mhm.
And say you can't do that. So we may be able to find someone at the state agency in Worcester who will say exactly what kind of trails they're looking for. And we can do it the right way, and then maybe we can be held up as an example when Mass DEP goes after other people who have trails that they don't like.
yeah,
Mr. Chairman, that I know there are organizations, Colin Novick at the Greater Worcester Land Trust. There are people who are dedicated to trails. And I think there's got to be a way that it's been done elsewhere without,
Okay,
I'm hopeful.
yeah. I mean, I certainly don't want to waste anyone's resources, you know, who have volunteered funds to build the project, your time, you know, all of the
And
people.
have DEP come back and say, take it out.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's it's a big work. There's been a lot of volunteers who wanted to help, make this better for everyone. It's an important trail for the network of trail systems that we do have there. We want to obviously continue that and make it grow. So whatever's best, short term, long term,
We did get approval for flat stone.
yeah, I mean, that's,
Makes sense for us to come up with some money to put flat stones to encourage people. to
Well, we
walk
can't
around.
bring stones from out of the area, but we can move ones that are already there and move them around.
oh, you can't bring any in? No,
Not,
no, no new
not,
stones?
not new stuff.
Filling around.
You allowed to use a crowbar and remove stones and move them?
Yes.
I mean, there's a stone wall right next to it, but I would hate to dismantle an old
No,
stone.
No,
we
don't,
can't-
yeah,
can't do
don't,
that.
don't pull from the
I've
stone
actually
wall.
rebuilt that stone wall, so I've picked up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just-
Peter.
I
Peter
don't want
won't
to sound
like that.
technical here, but you move stones,
I know.
it's filled.
Oh, that's a habitat.
You're disturbing the wetlands.
Or whatever that stone
Yeah.
wall is.
So again,
I would have no
I'm having
problem
a hard
importing-
time getting my arms around. It's okay to move stones, but it's not okay.
Well, I
to
think
bring in a
the,
square-
the other point about the concrete is that it would trigger the National Heritage and Endangered Species people. And they'd request a water quality report
Wow.
based on the concrete.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean,
Right,
So-
so no concrete, I see that,
Oh, yeah.
but I am not averse to bringing in native New England paving, not paving stones, but flat rocks so that you can artfully, only in places,
Yeah.
I'm not.
I think it would be obvious to hikers if we just did speaking for, at least myself and being an abutter, and Kurt, of course, is a butter and spends a lot of time out there.
Yeah.
But I mean, with a little bit of clear trail marking, I think, which there's already some flags. I'm not sure which, group put those up, but there's some flags, stay on trail markers and a couple flat stones. It probably wouldn't be a whole lot of work. I mean, you are hiking, it's expectations that you may have to jump over some puddles here or there. I understand that. But as long as it's clear where to go, and there's a little bit of, markings and certainly some hopping stones to, hopscotch
Little bit
across.
Sylvania Fieldstone, that'd work.
Yeah,
Those
I
are
mean,
always good stepping stones.
I could
Yeah.
probably find some around my property on the trails that I
Yeah.
could pick up, and on upstream from there.
It should be heavily.
Yes, it's a very popular trail. It wasn't so much, but now it's part of the, it's on a lot of apps, and the apps are attracting
The
people.
town can take it down from all trails temporarily.
Yeah, I don't want to see
Yeah,
anyone,
I don't want to do that either.
no, I'm an outdoorsman. I spend my life out there. I love the trails, I like to see them get.
You about
Yeah.
He owns it, if they're over his land that
Yeah.
they're walking, that's his.
Yeah, that's kind of what started this whole thing is, it was a few people here or there. Now it's constant, after it's been on, it's grown in popularity.
White corner.
And there's plenty of
Yes.
signage, but they just don't pay attention to them.
Yeah. It does get a little overgrown right in that little corner. So it also kind of loses its clarity a little bit of where it was, especially when the beaver dam was in there. Again, with the leaves off the trees right now. So back in the late summer, fall, it was really thick in there because
Yeah.
there was a lot of overgrowth,
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
I'm all for this, but I'm a little concerned that there should be better, hopefully in communication with Ann Mazar when it comes to signage, whose budget it is. They're the organization that has historically
Right.
put in all these. And now with some markers as in Bemidjian, and who's paying for that? And this
So-
one,
So here's what I would look at for short term and long term. Short term, in order to get through the next 2 or 3 months while the ground is going to be frozen. Work on, if you and the other people who are offering time and money to and work to improve the trail, if you come up with a way to improve signage, we'd work with the land use committee and come up with a budget to print up signs, and then we could arrange to have them installed.
Yeah, a couple little hiking arrows or something,
Yes. And say
Just
this
in that
way,
corner.
and do not, please do, maybe something that says, please do not disturb the beaver dam or something. like
Yeah,
that.
I haven't actually seen anybody jumping on. See a lot of photos being taken
Yes.
again.
Uh,
But
and then-
it's
and
a
then-
beautiful area.
And then long term, for our meeting in January, if we go and work on the NOI process and figure out how the town pays the fees itself, because it's on, we're doing it on town land. And that'll be a nice learning experience for figure out how to do it. We'll pull in resources from other nonprofits that do trails and come up with an engineering proposal that Mass DEP gives us a thumbs up to. So, so that's two separate action items. The first one, Isabella can reach out to you and coordinate with Ann Mazar. The NOI, I'm still dumping on you to
I'll do my best.
work with the circuit riders, and that'll give you experience in what the Mass DEP paperwork process is like.
I think that's great. We are working with Ann, but I'm a little concerned about the signage because there is a lot of signage, no trespassing, but you. So
Well,
you're
those are the signs I put up.
Right, but you're suggesting putting signs, don't step in this water or please step in this water, go through this way and, get your feet wet. People aren't gonna do that.
Whatever you think works out in terms of if,
You could put stones there. for now.
if the ground.
Yeah, the
if ground
stones.
freezes, that's not as much of a problem in saying, here's where the trail is, and we'll try and get through
But what-
the winter that way.
You said put the stones in, wouldn't he need a notice of
No,
of
that,
intent to?
I mean, I'm not saying like fill the whole trail with stones.
Yeah, just some
Some
stepping stones. Yeah.
It's speed.
Well, the ground is frozen. It would be a
Yeah,
good
people on
idea
the
to
town
put
was
stones
volunteering.
every 2 feet of.
Who want to maintain the trail.
Yeah, you won't need too many. I mean, honestly, like right now,
Because
you know,
when it floods up,
Yeah.
sink into place and then they'll be in.
Help move the stuff goes half a
Oh,
mile.
I
They're
get
gonna
it.
freeze and
So,
thaw.
that's not the problem.
No, in the world we live in.
All three of them.
Yeah.
If you put some of it's
Yeah,
frozen,
they'll get sucked in.
then they'll, as they freeze and thaw.
Simplest way.
So.
Get sucked in, yeah.
it's right there.
okay,
so I think we can meet back out there, Kurt, myself, Bill, if he's available, and, see what we can do with stones. And try to improve what we can.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to help.
I mean, that's,
Okay.
we can search out some flat stones and, carryable flat stones. There's a lot that look great, like, oh, what about that one? It's 100 pounds,
It's
you know?
just the iceberg, tip of the
Yeah,
iceberg. So it's
exactly.
sticking up. We're in a place called Stone Meadow.
Yeah.
our goal is to not have a meeting in 2 weeks because of the holidays.
Sure.
So we would look to have a update on this and start work on a draft NOI, maybe have some signage up by then.
Right,
And so we'll put it on the agenda for 4 weeks from now, or however many weeks it is.
right. But in the meantime, we can put the stones down,
If
Or
you,
a
the
couple?
way I would phrase it is if you can go on the path and look and say, oh, there's a stone,
Mhm.
picking it
Yeah.
up from there and putting it here, but don't backpack in
No.
gravel
No.
or slate or
Yeah.
things like that. And
Artfully placed, don't.
No, I think that's good. And, all we're trying to do is make it passable.
Yes.
With least effort and resources as we can. And,
Yep.
obviously when we went down there a couple months ago, there was a lot more water than when you just went down. So what we're seeing is a pretty dry situation compared to a very wet season that we had as well. We've had a lot of rain, so, and the beavers were also working in parallel trying to do their thing. So, good.
any other discussion before we move on to the next item?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks,
and
Kurt.
we'll
Thank
get it
you.
up. Well,
All right. Thanks all.
Have a good night.
Um,
See you, Jared.
Yes, thanks, Hart. We'll see you in 4 weeks, I think, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
See you next year.
At 7:05, we had 2 other commissioners show up. Could you introduce yourselves?
Susan Cahalan.
And Peter Kaufman.
Okay, and they've been participating in the discussion. I see Abe, am I pronouncing your name correctly? Is it Abe or Abe?
I'm sorry?
Do I pronounce your name Abe or Abe?
Abe.
Abe, okay,
Abe
so
Road.
Abe is here. This is for 23 Cape Road, review conditions on site and the photos taken after the 12/10 rainstorm, take any action required. We got an email from people who are downstream of brook that flows down the west side of 23 Cape Road. And so I reached out to your Bill Hall, I believe, your
Mike Dean.
Dean. Yeah, I knew it was
Yes.
two short four letter names. And we wanted to get an input as to what the situation was and if you had issues with the containment basement that was put in
Yep.
last April.
So he came, I called him and he came and we went around the whole property. What he did, what I did, he advised to do last time. Everything is running very, very good. Okay, and this is a day after the storm that
Yep.
we had. And the water is very clear. There is no sign of anything. We walk all the way down. We try to locate where the pictures were taken. These pictures, they were probably about 300 feet or 400 feet closer to the houses, right from the solar energy,
Okay.
solar panel. So we walked down there until we located where this big tree is. When we went, the water is very clean.
Okay.
Now there is sign of that brook right there. It's spread around. Okay, and there is sign of a brown mud and there is some silts on the edges.
Right.
Okay. So
Water
we
levels
try-
down, but it left behind siltation
Yeah.
from the storm
Yeah.
event.
So after that, we went to up, we start going to see if there is another source or anywhere. And we walk all the way down to where the cul-de-sac, my road, and everything looks working perfectly. There is no sign of anything, erosion. All the grass we planted, they're way high.
Yep.
So we walk further down to the end of my property up, and you see the same thing. There is mud. So I don't know. I think on Monday it's gonna rain. Maybe somebody from here should come.
Can you bring up the Mass GIS locus? Mass GIS thing for that, so we can, I want to clarify where you're saying we should take a look.
Yeah. Oh, you have map?
Yeah, so type in 23 Cape Road. Nope.
We walk almost for 2 hours.
And that was with the man who engineered your pond there. The engineer who designed the pond.
Yes, and the pond is really very clean. I have a video.
Okay.
Even the water coming out from it is very clear.
Yep.
Very clear, everything, all the water and the stones that we planted all along the property,
Okay.
they're all clean.
Put on the.
So there is no sign.
Is this, put on
I don't know
the
why-
political layer. Yeah, this one should show it by default. Scroll out a bit. Okay, so you're saying that you think the silt, you're not seeing any silt here coming down here.
Coming,
But
this
you
is,
did see
this is
some-
my property?
Yeah.
Okay, this is when we walk here.
Yep.
First, I walk where the pond is.
Right.
That's the right here, and we walk where the waters keep going. And there is nothing over here. Way down here, probably in this area right here.
That's the other
Where
side of the
picture
street.
was taken.
You cross the
Between
street.
these two houses.
Yeah.
Okay, right below, right on the edge over here, the picture was taken. And I see the water clean
Okay,
because the water kept running after the storm one day and it's clear now. But there is sign where the water was during the storm. I think there was a big flood. So that brook, it's about the wide of this, between these two tables. But it was spread some areas like over there. So I think the water rushing brought stuff from upstream. I don't know if there is
So
any
you said-
construction
you said. you
anywhere
wanted-
up here.
So did you see evidence of silt in this area up here?
That is like old, if you move the leaves,
Okay,
okay, you will find like brownish now, you see brownish, but if you move the leaves on the side, there is some area near the brook that is silt.
okay.
So I don't know when they built this here many years ago, that something went in there and now it get washed out, you can see it.
Okay.
But definitely, if somebody can go, I can walk with them. You see all the leaves recent now, there is from like mud, like a brown
Okay.
and silts.
Yeah, if it was this spring, it's been covered over by leaf fall, but that stuff doesn't go away. That's silt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's-
What parcel is this? Whose is this? Click on it and it'll say.
Was that across from the airport?
Okay, that's Barney and it's 119.
Who owns that field across from the airport?
But the one that's in light green is an environmental justice property.
Is it really?
Yes,
Oh, because it's a pollution or something?
I'm not sure.
I think that there's a good sign
Cemetery.
Okay.
on Monday, if somebody can come, definitely, I'm going, I have a video too.
Yeah. If you can mail us the video or work with Isabella to get it uploaded, we'll
Okay.
have that on our site. Because what I want you to get better is reply back saying.
It's gotta be.
Honestly, God, I don't know anybody doing any work up here,
Yes.
or they left
You
a pile of,
can't put a 30-foot.
Okay.
of dirt or something and it washed, because I never seen on the leaves like brown, or the brook get so widened.
Yes.
It took some soil,
Okay.
some topsoil downstream.
Isabella,
And it's,
what's your availability on Monday and Tuesday for a site visit to 23 Cape Road? Okay. So what we will, the other thing I want to do is contact the people at the solar farm and ask if we can go on their property and see if there's any siltation and flow from there.
I look up, I went up that
Yep.
way, I see water running, okay, but I didn't see any.
Right, and the question is, during a storm event, there's stormwater carrying silt that is flowing into the stream.
So people, this is my work question. I
And
do.
that was
So
pretty
they
clean.
think it's coming from 23, but he's trying to say it's coming from somewhere over here.
It's either Washington. Nothing changed, just as before.
Yes.
The water is like very clear, you can see that.
This problem.
It's. This is what-
Does it run
I could,
this
yeah,
way?
but
though?
I
Has to
found-
run.
This is the one that goes, you see this in City, there's a brown, so this is one thing. This is some of the big solar.
Got you, okay.
So it's a fairly, I think it's coming from upward, back to south.
It's also not, it's not silting the way.
Oh, it's all water running now.
Yeah. But there isn't silt, if they're gonna be overflow. Okay, so go ahead and show that to the people down at
Yeah.
that.
This takes a bit, see,
Dig a hole down.
This is the
Okay.
video I took, all the water and all these stones we.
that's clean.
I added more water.
They finished looking at the video.
Okay. And then this is the detention pond, it's very, very clean.
Right.
It's not overtopping it this time. No, it looks good.
It's, this is what. Because
I just have
it's the water when it comes. And no, yeah, what, now, the pipe, it's pretty open. When it-
Yeah, okay, now you're going down close to what?
Definitely, there's some room up in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I'm sure.
Oh, you. It says, as high as it gets, and then the water starts coming from this pipe. Here in the sound, yeah, look. Look how clean.
Nice.
You can't drink this water.
Yeah.
And then you go down to the wetland. I went all the way to the wetland. You see the water? Very clean. There is no mud
Yeah.
on anywhere. There is no mud in that property anyway.
The Hartford
It's all
Ave.
stripped long time ago.
They are always good neighbors.
And, last time we added more, this is the first silt space that we have. This is all the vegetation when, we planted, seeded.
Yeah, my concern was a little bit further back down here, right? Gives a wetland there. It is.
I'm going towards the wetland.
going-
I was going down
Yeah.
here.
That's still pretty open.
Yep. With all these stones, this is where some of the water you saw up there is going through.
So, Mr. Chair, what do you want to do, or what's the?
Yeah, I want, when you're done looking at that, I'll make a proposal.
You see the water?
Yeah, that's clean.
And all these stones is clean. And then we want,
Working like it's supposed to.
yeah, so what, this is where the wetland down here now at the end. And it looked like there is nothing, there's empty water. This is the wetland, right from where the water goes in. And then we walk further down And I tell you, I think some of this is very old. I'm not professional.
But if you could go back to those pictures, the one picture that you're looking upstream and you see the silt on the one side, I mean, that's from the neighbor, right? Because I guess your pictures are from the next day or something, not that one, the next one. No, that one. To me, are we looking upstream?
If you go upstream, they all look
Right,
like this.
no, right, but is the camera looking upstream? So the
Yes.
stream is coming down.
Downstream.
So that is telling me on the right-hand side there, that is where the silt is coming from. It's not coming from the left, the main channel,
The
right?
side,
That's,
your house is up there.
that's a clear just by the color. So you just gotta walk up there.
That tree on the right side, and it's if you're going down, that tree on the right side.
Yeah,
Okay, and if you go back up, you see that scene over and over, except when you look at this water, it's clean now. It's
well,
not,
that's the problem, is the
it's not
silt
the
goes
problem.
away. So you can come back the next day, especially after it's, it might be running clear, right? That silt is,
this is clear now.
some of it's, yes, it's clear, so it's.
So if you wanna know what's going on, when it's really heavy rain, you gotta go, because if it's light rain, you gotta.
So,
see the
so if you go,
So-
sit down for a sit, and I want to take back the meeting and start checking stuff. I see that there's someone on the Teams call, CB. Is that someone here with information about the 23 Cape Road? You're on mute at the moment.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Hi, it's Christina, 14 Talbot.
Yes. Do you have any other information about, has the water level gone down? Is there still silt flowing through the stream after the 4 days?
Well, of course, it's run clean.
Okay,
What you are witnessing is what's happening during the actual rain events. And the image that's on the screen right now is me looking directly at 23 Cape. Like if you kept going straight up, you'd be looking at the gas station.
okay. So the question is whether the water with the silt in it, the silt is flowing from the retention pond that was put in 23 Cape Road, or whether it's coming from further upstream north of 23 Cape. So what the proposal is, and Isabella says that she's available, is that when there's a rain event, we'd arrange for Abe and Isabella to put on their boots and actually go and try and identify where in the stream the silt is flowing into it, and determine whether it's coming from 23 Cape Road, the solar farm, or something farther north, who we haven't been involved with, and it's just flowing downstream. What you would be able to get, you would be able to contact Isabella through the phone number on the Concom if you see silt flowing through, and then that would help for her to arrange to come down and do the actual visit.
Okay.
Isabella, if it rains Monday and you need somebody to go with you.
Yeah, because what Abe came in here with is he showed a video showing the retention pond that was put in last spring, and the path from the retention pond down to the stream. That's not, there's no silt evidence in there. So it looks like we have to find someplace else for the silt to be doing, and Monday looks to be a good time to try and find that out. We're hoping to not have a meeting in 2 weeks, but if we need to take some actions on 23 Cape Road, we would end up having a short meeting. Maybe we'd all do it from home or Teams or something. Anybody else on the Zoom call, on the Teams call, or here want to discuss this further?
No, Abe, thank you for being cooperative, because
Yep.
it's a recurring issue, right? So it's.
Yes.
Anything I can do.
The other
Okay, so-
question, if you're willing to,
Isabella, when I go on Monday, if you have time,
yes,
you will let me know, you will let me know if I leave my number?
Yes, if you can leave her your.
I think when it's,
Write it on the sheet.
I write it here?
Okay.
Okay. And then I think, probably you will be surprised when that water is rushing, like I went, and I put big boot and I couldn't go further because it was very, very bad the day of the storm.
Yep.
And I had to go back because it was windy. I was scared that a tree fall on me. But the following day, it looked like nothing happened.
Yep.
So you have to go when it's raining.
Go there while the actual water's coming down. Okay.
It was 3¼ inches. Did you hear it?
Yes.
Doug?
4 inches in Mendon.
Solar field got wiped out and it's sitting in Lake Manchog.
Oh,
Ugly
gee.
erosion.
floodplain on Route 16?
Maybe don't put a solar field.
One.
West, well, Douglas and Sutton in Manchog. Yeah, that name of the road.
Okay.
Problem with selling infrastructure in places that aren't geologically or geographically suited for it.
Well, big areas with even a gentle slope.
I know.
You take off everything, where it's gonna go? We're talking
Just like,
8%.
whatever.
Yeah.
All right.
Think about it
Any
later.
further discussion on this? People are taking notes. I see there are two other people on the call, Mike and who's the other person on there?
There was Margaret, but it's like they might have
Okay,
left.
so Mike, if you want to unmute yourself and say if you're here for a particular agenda item, we'd move on to that one next. Okay, well, maybe he'll speak up in a little bit. All right, we can now start doing the thing where I say something and then other people respond back with the status and we can hopefully zoom through the rest of them.
I can go?
Yeah.
Okay,
we're all set,
thank you.
And we'll see about
Happy holiday. Yep.
having a sidewalk when the
Okay,
next
thank you.
rainstorm happens.
Good night.
Thank
you.
And the other thing that we will try and do is find out who our contact would be for the solar farm and see if we can get permission to go on their property on Monday as a part of a comprehensive sidewalk to see if there's any siltation from there as well. When we thought that they were doing impact to the wetlands a couple of years ago, they were very reactive. They put up a drone and said, no, there's nothing coming from our parcel.
But they're all signed off, right? There's not an active order. for
Oh, no.
business.
No,
So,
but if they are,
so we should ask them.
if they are having stormwater flowing on and it's carrying and their stormwater management system is not working, we want to
They still.
notify them that it may and have them look at it. Okay, so we'll go back up to the top, review correspondence. MACC invoice, they letting us know how much money we're gonna have to pay next fiscal year. We got a report of a possible violation at 19 Askins Drive, and we had our conservation agent go and investigate.
Yeah, it looked fine to me. I got a call. They said there were giant slabs of asphalt going in. They thought it was gonna be under the driveway if it was gonna be paved, but then the building permit, they're building a house in the back. There wasn't anything there when I drove by, and I called the person who reported it if they wanted to come in and speak, and they haven't called me back.
They're complaining of piles of asphalt and you didn't, because I can see asphalt, if it's left over, you can't just get rid of that stuff, but
That's another,
it doesn't disappear too easy.
it's another thing that doesn't make sense. It's all together, laying flat, it's okay. Well, now that you break it up, put it in the pile. It's
Then
not,
it's hazardous waste.
I don't know, but it's not, there's no wetlands around it, and I don't know what the person who called.
Did you see piles of asphalt? I can't really see.
No, it's just a dirt driveway is all you can see. It's, the house is up here in the back, so it goes, the driveway goes around here and up.
So we've responded to a complaint or a report of a possible violation and found nothing. And then unless the person comes forward with more information and asks us to work with them, we'll just flag it and it'll be now searchable on our SharePoint site the next time someone asks about 19.
File it away.
Okay. Let's see.
Like having pictures.
42 Millville Street, DEP number 213-711, continued discussion of expired OOC. Um, We discussed this at the last meeting. Any status update on whether, what the engineer is doing in terms of carrying out the existing order?
No, she hasn't gotten back to me. I followed up on like what the proper process for paperwork would be, and the circuit writer said issuing an enforcement order to complete the OOC and the NOI that have expired is the formal way to do it. So I know we haven't been issuing enforcement orders. But that's what we could or should do.
So,
So we could issue a gentle
well,
enforcement order, right? And
Yeah.
you could even say you could do a vernal pool, but
that vernal pool is a
wouldn't want
separate
to,
issue,
yes.
but no, the goal would be, we want to have the engineer communicating with Isabella and maybe Mass DEP, coming up with an enforcement order, which, yes, they agree that they're willing to enforce it. That way, when it comes time for us to issue the certificate of compliance, the COC refers to the enforcement order and not something that expired 7 years ago.
Right, because they had no problem doing what was on the plan. They were
Yes.
just trying to modify the plan.
Right,
So
so,
we can't do that easily, so it's back to do what's
Right.
on the plan. Oh, right.
right, so,
it's-
so. the
But
next-
it's gone dead, so now we have to liven it with an
With an
enforcement
EO.
order, I
Yeah,
guess.
so the next step
Is the
is
easiest.
to get the attention of the site engineer in the next couple of weeks and work that out.
Yeah, because then it gives me like a deadline date that they would have to fulfill completing the OOC. So I'd want her and the owner's opinion kind of on the timeline they think they'd finish.
So what is the action that is being suggested?
The action is for Isabella to continue to attempt to contact the site engineer, Margaret Bacon of Civil Site Engineering, and determine if they're comfortable with a joint EO being issued.
Because there's no charge to them for an enforcement order, right?
No, and it's just, the enforcement order would basically say what they've agreed they're planning on doing.
I shouldn't have a problem with that.
Okay, I get to flip over to the other side. Let's see, 58C Milford Street. Review conditions on site and photos taken after the weekend rainstorm and take any action required. Is this where you go on the other side of the table?
It is.
Okay,
Oh, this is a Bob thing.
All right, sorry about that. Base here.
so could you please sign in and state your name and address for the record, please?
Don't do that.
I don't think
We,
yes.
we know.
Don't
who
do
you
that.
are.
Let's sign it.
We know who you are. Mystery guest, sign in, please.
All right, just for the record, Bob Sweet, 50 Milford, 58 Milford Street. All right, this is just so that I'm trying to avoid problems down the road. I sent a few pictures of this last rainstorm. There was always a question of whether or not the pipe under the driveway was going to be a problem to the neighbor or to me or to anybody else. So with this last rainstorm, granted, it was a big rainstorm, but it doesn't seem like
You stress testing.
the pipe that is further down, either 49 Milford Street is backing the water up, or the change in pipe size from 8-inch to 6-inch is backing the water up all the way to the neighbor's property behind me. So I don't want my neighbors that are behind me to be mad at me for water going on their property. So I'm trying to get a determination of what is causing this water backup and what can be done with it. If you look at the picture that's right there, if you zoom in on it, you'll see that cistern or that catch basin that's right there is full to the top. In other pictures, you'll see that there's actually a 6-inch pipe on the outflow side, but an 8-inch pipe on the inflow side.
And that's your neighbor's house and barn or something?
Yeah, that's 58 Milford Street right there.
I'm
But,
standing on your property, we're looking west or east?
west,
West, because it's the,
you're going towards the drive-in.
We're looking west and that's downstream
That's downstream, yes.
towards,
So if Isabella flips to another picture, there's actually probably a video there that will show a panoramic view of how much water is backing up on my other neighbor's property. And that's my concern is that right here, that's not fair to them. That water right there, that carries around. And then now I have a half-acre lake on my property because the water can't get out fast enough.
You didn't change the size of the pipe.
I didn't change the size
So
of
you
the
didn't
pipe.
do any,
I didn't do anything, no. So the only thing that's been done is 49 did some work. And I'm not saying that they did anything wrong. What I'm trying to do is find out what's creating all this water backup.
okay, I'm going to raise the jurisdiction point.
That's
Unless it's
the water right
impacting
there.
Unless it's impacting the wetlands, it's just between neighbors saying you're either giving me stormwater or you're not diverting stormwater downstream properly. So is there a wetlands that's being impacted as of this week, last weekend, and potentially this coming week?
That never has that kind of water.
so this is right at the corner, that the
That's
new
as you go to
riser
the
you put
driveway.
in?
You see that pipe that's right there?
Yes.
I put that
That's
in
the new
because if you look to the right side of that, that's the new leave dump area.
I can imagine. But that's the area, because I always knew there was gonna be a lot more water there, because so that big, so now you have a big pipe. But you didn't change the pipe that went under, right?
Correct.
And but the pipe that goes under is only a 6-inch?
An 8-inch on my side, it's a 6-inch on the other side,
So where does it change? In the middle?
where that
Where the
box
big-
is.
That's where the big hole in the ground is.
So
Right,
at one
but-
point, somebody added another pipe, but they didn't size it to the size of the original pipe.
But it's not flooding up in that box though, right?
Yes, it
It
is.
is.
The
you
box is
look-
overflowing.
Yeah.
Box is overflowing.
so. It tells me there's a plug in the downside.
Well, that's
The
what,
down- The downside
And
outlet is
which
plugged.
which is not on your property, it's on somebody else's property.
but that's what I'm saying is, that's what I'm trying to find out is, how do we correct this?
How do you find out where a plug is?
Is it on 49?
Well,
Is it on
I'll
58?
ask the
Is
question.
it?
For a little bit.
I'll ask the question, is the plug in the backup currently impacting a jurisdictional wetlands?
Yes.
Okay, so great, we get to go and do something about it. So I'll look at our long-term time member, what's the best way to go working our way downstream, trying to find out who's coming up, who's damming up the works.
Well, looking at that picture. Okay. This gentleman says he did not change the size of the pipe. That his driveway is over, so that's always been there.
Mhm.
We don't have any history on that particular stream, because it is a stream. We don't have any history on that.
It might have.
We don't know if that's happens in big storms or not, but now that you're there and there's more
Noticing,
activity there, we're noticing it. I don't think we have any just jurisdiction yet.
okay,
No, but
Would
you
it be
can, you
possible-
can knock on the door of your neighbor and say, hey, is this weird? Has it happened before? And then you gotta go to the neighbor next, you gotta keep going and get their permission. Because they should be interested or concerned, as
Okay.
long as it's, I don't know. Hopefully, you
And that is probably the best idea is,
gotta go door to door and make it a.
and you're-
like I said, my,
you're concerned about the people upstream, go ask them, does your backyard regularly flood, or is this the first time you've ever seen this happening? And then you can get their support, and the two of you start knocking on doors, walking downstream.
And then you can bring in the agent and whatever as needed, and then if it's a BMP or, I don't know what, it's worthy of more interest as just opposed, yeah.
I'm
But
just
thank you
trying,
for being
I'm trying
proactive.
to stay out of
I,
trouble.
I hear you.
I don't want my neighbors mad at me for doing something that I have no control over,
But they're instantly gonna blame you because you're the new guy in town.
because I'm the new guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Construction. Okay,
Okay.
any further discussion?
Has anybody ever found where the outlet pipe goes after it leaves that box?
It goes on to 49.
And then where?
Has anybody physically seen the end of the pipe?
When,
It leaves that wet well. And travels underground over his property. Where does it go?
this is what I can say is when it backed up the first time, I reached out to the owner of 49 Milford Street and I spoke with him and I'm sure everybody knows him, Chris Fenari. He took me all through the property. He opened up one of the one of the manhole covers. He showed me water was flowing through. Wherever that water was coming from, I don't know. But then he showed me a second spot and he said that's where that water was coming from across the street from my property.
So
Now-
somehow it's gotta get under or through Route 16. And evidently
Yeah.
there's no pipe that anybody knows of.
And I know there's a catch basin on Route 16, right where that pipe should be coming
Well,
onto Route 16.
that catch basin, you probably need permission of, you should be calling Mass Highway, or we should be calling Mass Highway saying,
It probably has never been cleaned.
they're saying it's a catch basin? 'Cause that
Yes.
implies a grid with something going in, or are you just saying
Yeah, no, it's a steel grate that, sits
that
on
lets water?
on the road, yeah.
Does the Mendon Highway Department know where things are on Route 16? Do they have access to the
They
state?
do not have authority on Route 16.
I know they can't do anything, but do they have the ability to know what state infrastructure is there?
They're probably the first person to talk to, and then they would tell you who to talk to at Mass Highway if they couldn't help.
Okay.
So since this is not necessarily, where I'm asking her to do enough, something you can do is come in and talk to Jack in the highway department and ask him if he knows anything at all about this catch basin and how he would get information. So you'd be talking to him as a private citizen whose land is being impacted. You're saying one possibility is something on Route 16 is clogging up the works and causing a whole lot of upstream flooding.
Mhm.
And see if he can give you information on how we'd investigate Route 16 further.
I really like.
Okay.
He's been there. He's talk to, who's the guy who's running the DPW,
I think it's John Dudley.
Dudley? And so somebody local must know, or ask him. He should, or he should be able to help, or he'll.
Like I said, I think what I'm gonna do is actually walk up to that catch basin and see if water's in it.
Shine a
Because
light
usually
in
you
it.
can see where there's a pipe coming in. Usually you can see it or hear it.
And in, well, there's probably a plug someplace.
Because it's
And-
unusual to put a catch basin with no pipes coming in. That's not
Well,
a stranded catch basin, right?
there's usually no bottom in it.
Okay, so then think a leach pit, yeah, okay.
That's only in a real
Not
sandy
a
area.
Route 16, yeah,
That's all ledge there.
That's rock, that was put there.
So, and I know Bill had a spot on his property dug up that, I'm thinking that he looked to see if his pipe was clogged. And he never said anything to me, so I don't know whether or not he found anything or didn't.
Okay, well. We've got the Concom will sit back and wait for more information.
So I have
To go-
homework to do as.
As private citizen, go and collect the information and then see if you need to come back before us.
I love this town.
Well, there's a lot happening with Route 16, so with the lake and what with the highway, so we should be up on it, so this stretch is important. So it's not just you, so if you
Okay,
need help,
so-
let me know.
So come on back to your seat and we'll go on to the next agenda item. Agenda item 8, conservation restriction activity. 8A, review actions being taken at 43 Quistit Road. Take any actions required. All right.
Just probably being work.
Isabella, do you have the picture I texted you?
Uh,
The map?
The one that got circled, you mean?
Yes, well, I think it's rectangles, but.
Yeah, let me see. I got. This is the one I got. Um, That's the one I got from Mike Penko from Metacomet.
No, the one that I have is he saying that's where the markers are missing?
He said this, he said 1 and 3, so
Well, Mark said one.
he said
What are the two northernmost ones?
these two.
But that's not what Mark said was missing.
Well, definitely the northeast was out in the middle. That's where Carl went for a
I
walk.
think one is one.
Mark,
This one we saw. This one is missing, and the question is, that there's a slope here, so the question is, if it's where Mark says it is, he's got a building here that's not infringing. If it's like more here, then it might be clipping the corner of his building, and so that's one of the things why we want to at least get this one in there.
Is the other one in, the one in the corner?
No.
That's something the surveyor would be able to determine.
Because those are the two critical
Is
ones.
that an existing building or did he build that?
Build a pavilion that doesn't show on that plan.
This is his barn,
Yeah.
and there's a new building that he put in here.
Oh, okay.
It's a little outbuilding with like.
And someone's thinking
So the
that.
question is it's off the envelope there.
Yes, and Mark when we did the sidewalk, Mark said that, based on where he thinks the missing marker is, his building is not over the line, and that's one of the things we determined.
But the problem is we don't know how many markers to replace because.
Well, all those
Different
markers could
stories.
be replaced discreetly with iron pins, especially those ones circled in blue.
with you.
yeah, so
agree with
Mike
you.
from Metacomet, he said definitely the 3 that he circled in blue, but that all 5 should really be replaced. And I would also say all 5 should be replaced because if he builds something over here next year, and we didn't replace them, it's gonna be much easier to look down line of
Yeah,
sight.
the one on the bottom, what you don't need to do the one up by the driveway, because you got the 2 corners and that's interior. That's.
That's
Does
true.
anybody know how they were put in originally?
Yes,
Did the surveyor put
we
them in?
observed them on the sidewalk. They are about.
They're
2.5
humongous.
feet tall.
They stand up and there's like a aluminum plate.
Yes. A surveyor put them in? Do we know what surveyor?
Yes.
Maybe we could reach out.
We have.
Yeah. We reached out and they will replace. The first estimate was for 5 of them to get 1,800.
I guess what I'm asking. Can they supply us with the measurements they use to lay that out? Anybody can drop the stones there. It's the layout I'm interested in. Do they have records of the initial survey?
I don't know enough about.
No, well,
That's why I'm asking.
that's the private information as to what elevations. That's a public document that any surveyor should be able to reproduce. But if you haven't done it before, it's gonna take more time as opposed to the firm that's done it can do it quicker. There's
No,
no
what Mike's
internal
saying is
document.
we could pull it if we knew the measurements, but.
Right, are they?
Those measurements are up there. You
Are
can
they
pull
on?
them.
Yeah, I mean, we could walk in with a GPS coordinate and stand right there and look
Always
line of
get the
sight.
angle, right? Yeah.
No, that's. If you go, it's the orange one towards the back. Has the restriction in it.
Is this what Mike said recently, Isabella?
Yes, he said this today or yesterday.
Work with the borough.
He said I'd recommend the ones that are blue.
There you go.
And
Site levels. And if you got meet and balance, distance and. I think it has an angles on it.
The second to last page has the plan, but you can't really see it that well.
Keep binocular. But electronically, you can blow it up, so that's the beauty of it.
You got it in coordinate.
There, I mean, we have access to all the original. All their,
Like I'm saying, if we had the coordinates,
It's not hard to lay it out.
But I think for the long run, we do want to
Yeah.
replace the 5 mark.
I think it has to be done by a professional surveying team so that there can't be any bounce back.
So we got a quote from the firm, right? So did we give it the go ahead or you want to vote on that or it's?
Well, we were going back and forth on which we want to do,
Ah.
if we want to do.
Didn't it say 43? It's 42 mil. One of my thoughts said GIS,
I don't know.
CIS.
Well, if we can save money, I would take off the one in the middle, kind of on the driveway. But those other 3 in purple, or the 3 in blue and the 1 in purple. 4 out of the 5.
Oh, that's it right there.
Yeah, and that, so that's the plan. But we have other,
That meets and bounds on.
yeah, we have other reports with the bounds on them. I don't know if I should find.
You want that motion, Mr. Chair?
Well, what I would say is we budget to replace all 5. Surveyor and our agent go out there and we work with the property owner. They may say, this one is just fine, especially the one that's in the middle of the wetlands, because we know he's never going to be doing any agricultural work there. So the price may come down, but we've already budgeted to, so yes, a motion to authorize $1,800 and to engage them to do that work. So
I'll make that motion and if we can get a little bit off,
yeah,
try to do that. But yes, that would be more.
Do we have an itemized estimate?
No, they replied with the,
But it says it will do 5 things according to a plan, right?
And they know they have to be flush.
yes, I know.
and iron so you can find it with the metal. Which is one reason I'm not interested in replacing the one that's in the wetlands, because we want to be able to see where that one is.
But the 5 were
The ones that are in, the ones that are in the fields or whatever other ones would make sense.
And I would just stress that we just make sure we communicate with Mark as much as possible as to when it's gonna be done, because he seemed a little stressed out. About the whole situation, so.
Yeah, so the first estimate was, it would be 1,800.
Is there an estimate of the work that's gonna be performed for 18?
Reset the iron rods flush or slightly buried. I can ask for a more specific estimate.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is, I would like to see the coordinates to that survey.
What do you mean by coordinates?
They already did it once, so they already know where they belong.
They have the plan, which has meets and
Right,
bounds.
I'd like to see it. Can I get a copy of it?
You have it?
No, you can't make it out there.
Well, you have it electronically. That's a full sheet. I don't know.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I don't know either.
All
Well,
right.
No, I
hold
do.
on.
I've looked at it.
Isabella, do you know enough about surveying to know how to ask the surveyor for the information that Mike wants?
Yeah, and we do have it. I'm just not sure where.
It's probably in the 40-page CR document that's in the registry then.
It was the document that Mike Pinko gave me, his copy of it. So I don't know what copy they
Might be in
used.
mine.
It must have been off the original.
No, there's like a Google.
Go back to the SharePoint site and scroll down. Conservation restrictions, and there's, yeah, go in the Mendon Pearson Farm folder.
Yeah.
And scroll down,
And you go the deep dive.
and Pearson Farm Conservation Restriction Book 5, that's the one I downloaded from the registry, so this is the official.
I know, but there's the original plan done by Mass Wildlife that has all the coordinates of everything, and that's in a different that's in a different folder from Google. I don't know where it is in my.
Shouldn't it be on the registered deed though?
No, it doesn't have to be in there. The surveying doesn't have to be in there.
No, but the plan should, there should be a recorded plan.
And that's the other document in that folder.
Well, I would have me £2. The question is whether it has that envelope, because I'm not sure how that envelope, it's like a square. It's got this weird side on one and then.
I'm curious to see.
Yeah. Usually at the end. Stuff.
Yeah, so here are all the coordinates for that building envelope and the markers.
All right, keep going. You want a plan. It doesn't have, it should have.
Well, the plans,
Map, is that what you mean?
Is that in the document here that I have?
no, that's a different report. That's in this one. I can print it. The plan,
Yeah, just blow it up.
No, they are hard to read on that because I was trying to read them too. Yeah.
Go. Keep tracking it. Look. Put up a little bit. You see, that's 381.83 on one side.
yeah, so north 85.
Now that stone wall is gone, so it's gonna be hard to determine that, because you'd have to add the two measurements together to come close.
I'm assuming those are 90 degrees, so you find one, you turn 90 and you face off or whatever. But we need a surveyor who's gonna, what's your, is that enough for you or is?
If I gotta look at it, I can't even, I can't see it.
So come on up. We can zoom this as much as you want. It's one of the nice things about PDFs. It's, you can scale them that way.
So they just crafted 4 acres basically and made a square.
Well, it's not square.
It's kind of a
It's a
rectangle.
little.
but-
Now I feel a little.
Here we go.
A trapezoid, yeah.
397 there. 157 here.
No, 397 is on one side and on the other side you got
Oh,
add
yeah.
190,
There's a point there,
right?
there. I believe that refers to this 100, I'm sorry.
Right, 200 plus the 190 equals the total of 3.
So you get over here, 225.
Right, it's not a perfect rectangle. You're right, Mike.
So again, what the survey is the angles that are there. You gotta have one point to start with. This is how we did it when we built the pyramids. Set your transit up there and you cut the angles.
Yep, they got the point.
Okay,
There's the points there, still sitting there.
that's what I'm interested in seeing.
Ah. Well, he's gonna say that's private. He had to use a calculator to figure that out. We gotta pay him for that.
That's not, that should all be public information.
It is, but you gotta derive it. He's giving you the angle. One is southwest by 100 and then the other is
Okay.
northwest and you can convert
And
that
this
to
is
an
the
angle.
point.
That bottom corner, Mike, the top corner right there, doesn't that give you the two measurements, the two angle measurements?
Scroll.
There's nothing that shows you that point. Where do you start from? That's what I'm
You
saying.
can start from anyone.
Right underneath the one,
Gotta have a,
It's got a bearing.
underneath
There's
the
a
one oh
north-
two, isn't that 109 degrees by 50 degrees west?
Yeah.
So isn't that what you're looking for?
It's the information that you need to derive what the angle is, yes.
Then the next one would be north, south, north, southwest or south, north,
And
something.
it can only be northeast or south. Okay. Yep. And then they all gotta close. That's the surveyor's job, because we need precision. We can't be,
oh, you can't be guessing.
can't be.
Not on this.
Okay,
Not
Oh.
on this clean slate. Let's clean slate.
If I can go back in time, we have a motion to authorize paying $1,800.
I think it was was it 1850? Does it matter?
The estimate was 1,800.
It was, yeah, 1,800.
So do I have a second?
Second.
Great, okay.
Before we do
We
that,
just finished, okay, no, now you can discuss, because we've had a motion in second, so what's your
can
discussion?
we get a little more description of what they're gonna do for the 1850 5 pins with rods?
Yeah, I didn't want to keep emailing them when we weren't sure on which ones we wanted to ask for. So if I'm moving forward,
You know,
Um,
could they give per pin, or do they have a per pin price? Or is it, you know, a daily price?
Their estimate was $1,800 for 5 pins. If it turns out that when our agent goes out on the site with them, we determine that we don't need 5 and we can get by with 4, then,
What
we'll
will the
see.
cost savings be?
well, I want to authorize $1,800 and we'll get back whatever they don't end up charging us for.
Is the gentleman that owns the property kicking in any money for?
I think he should be paying for it. He took them out, but that's not what we decided to do. So I'm just gonna stop there.
When did we decide that?
We had a vote on that 2 meetings ago. You were not present.
Ah. See,
You snooze, you lose.
You can always revisit if you think you get majority of the board, but.
I would really not like to do that. Go back and
I don't.
and
Kick a hornet's nest?
that might be a good way of phrasing it. So, any further discussion on the motion on the floor? Okay, I will call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. All right, now we move on to 8B, Conservation Restriction Activity Update on our referral for the Gaskill Conservation Restriction.
it's forwarded to town council, and once they approve it, or I don't know what they do, but then they'll bring it to select board to vote.
Okay.
So we might be called to the 1/3/24 meeting. But yeah,
Okay. I would go as chair saying that we are, if they have any questions about, but generally saying the Conservation Commission voted to approve it at our previous meeting. And we would be looking forward to working with Metacom same way we have on the other things. Okay, Sylvan, agenda item 9, Sylvan Springs monitoring, review site inspection report of December 12th and take any action required. Can you bring up the spreadsheet that I'm maintaining? Mediation checklist. I don't want to have too much discussion on this because we have scheduled a site. Yeah, December 2nd. We are going to be having a site walk tomorrow. It's going to be a joint site walk with our agent, the Upton agent. I expect to go as well. And we'll be looking at, Upton has issued an enforcement order complaining that our stormwater is flowing downhill onto their lots. So we will be seeking to address that during the sidewalk.
But this report is from the 11th, which was after the big rainstorm,
no, this report is from the 2nd.
No,
before the rainstorm.
what I'm doing is I'm taking DeShang's report and he's basically going, if you bring that one up now, switch over to DeShang's report. What he's doing is every
my.
report he is going through and he has a table where he says for this parcel, here's his recommendation, here's what's going on. Which is nice, but I'm making a spreadsheet out of it so we can track each particular item. On the spreadsheet, there's a top section for open issues, then there's one for pending, and then one's for closed. At the site walk tomorrow, there are 3 things where DeShang flagged something that needed doing. The applicant, the contractor has now said has been done. During the site walk, we will confirm that they have actually completed what they did, and then those 3 items get moved down to the closed tab. So if we can go back to the spreadsheet.
It's like bar on my screen.
And click on the pending tabs. Down at the bottom. It says open, pending, close.
Okay.
So click on pending. So these are the three actions, or four, I guess, that the December 12th report said have been completed, but just because they say it's completed doesn't mean we're happy with the completion. So at the sidewalk, we will be specifically looking at these four lots. Two of them are in Upton, so their agent will take the lead on that. Two of them are in our area, so we will be making sure that the backyard has been regraded and a new erosion control barrier done. We'll be able to look with our own eyes. For lot 23, we'll be able to say, yep, that they put more mulch down in the past month. At the site walk, DeShang would observe if there are any other things, and then when he issues his next report, he would flag them as things that he discovered. I would take them out of his report and add them to the open tab of the spreadsheet.
Now, it's my understanding that the Shang works for the contractor.
Correct.
So at any point, can the contractor say, I don't want you to put this in?
DeShang is DeShang is independent and he will write a report. The contractor can say, or the developer can say, I don't want to do that. At which point the developer has a conversation where he has to explain to us why he's not doing what DeShang is recommending.
Right, this Shang is an honorable engineer. I don't think.
No, I do not. DeShang he's been doing hydrology on the site for the whole decade-long project. I don't think that he would react well if the developer said, start censoring your report so the Concom and Upton Concom doesn't see it.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
That's pretty.
The leverage that the Concom has is, as you've observed, they come in. Fred Lathman comes in usually saying they want to do a particular site. If DeShang recommended something, the developer didn't do it at that time, we'd say, well, why haven't you done what was recommended to be doing, if we can hold up any future development on the property? So I've worked with the person, Fred, what's his name? Fred, the person who we went out and met. Yes, it's bad at names.
Francis?
The person who's working on site now, I have had a couple of conversations with him, and he's comfortable with the arrangements between the Concom, DeShang, and himself representing the company doing the building.
Good. That's the way it should be. We
Yeah.
got the encouraging this.
So the expectation is that moving forwards, we'll see at tomorrow's meeting, we'll see about setting up how frequently our Concom agents go out and view the site with DeShang. Maybe we do it every 2 weeks with DeShang. Maybe we only go once a month or once every 6 weeks. We'll let them work that out. Okay, any further discussion on Sylvan Springs? All right, agenda item 10, Lake Nipmuc Task Force. Here update from Bob Sweet, including about installing a water level gauge and median high water level, and take any action required. Review.
So I did end up by reaching out and getting a hold of Fred. And Fred said that he would work with me. He would take me down to the outflow structure. He would show me one of the GIS tags that are out there, get some shots there, and create the high, medium, and low water levels so that we can create a rain gauge that we want. He said that he does have some heights where his building is on the lake. And again, I'm looking forward to taking him up on his generous offer to
Who's the
get more
resident?
involved. Surveyor,
Oh, okay.
land surveyor.
Right, but someone's going to have to if you don't have a wall or something that's in the water that you can put it, someone's gonna have to install a post and that should be worked in with the beach, I'm assuming.
Right, and that's, I'll talk with Dan Byer about that, you know, where the location is,
Yeah.
what he's thinking, what he wants.
Good.
And that way there, if all goes well, maybe as one of his beach duties, maybe he can have somebody monitor once a week the height of the water.
Your Boy Scout program or something, yeah, something, education.
You could just put a camera.
Okay. The other lake activity,
Field camera.
that I, I've started some groundwork on it. One of the training classes I was in clarified for me the distinction between a swamp like the one in my backyard or in other parts of the small lakes and a great pond. The difference is that in a great pond, the municipality owns the middle part of the lake.
The land under the water.
The land underwater and that's why there are special regulations regarding navigation on the pond. You can't obstruct it. You have other rules as opposed to if I wanted to do something in my third of the swamp in the backyard, that's between me and the other property.
Or a mill pond, because then there's all
Yes.
rights above.
Right.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I noticed when I was looking through the MACC newsletter is they have what they call a rent an expert or something program. So I sent an email off to the MACC contact saying, do they have someone who they know who would be familiar with Chapter 91 and the WPA? And then if so, the Lake Task Force can see about coming up with the money to pay for them to come in and work with the town. So we'll see if we get a response back from that. Otherwise, I'm going to keep telling the Lake Task Force whenever they have their meetings, pay for a consultant, whether it's through MACC or whether we find someone else who can advise us on coming up with a regulation or a bylaw.
The other thing for chapter 91 that I was looking into, the Mass Waterways who regulates the chapter 91 permits, they're all swamped and they'll typically potentially just hand over the permits to us if they haven't been followed up on, and then we can kind of see what activities on the lakefront properties that have been done, like if they put up a barrier or any kind of like wall, we can see what was permitted and what wasn't. And so if they come,
There's never been any permitted anywhere.
yeah, that's what I'm most interested in.
Basically willing for the Concom to do it after we get the Board of Selectmen and some regulations or bylaws authorizing us to start monitoring those things. But I don't want to stick our foot in a trap without having the statutory backing for us to tell people not to do things. All right, any other lake activity discussion? All right, agenda item 11, National Grid Operational Plan Review. This is mail that came in. National Grid sent us their 2024 yearly operational plan as per 333 CMR 11.06. The typical thing that happens is we review this, and if we have any question about it, then we push back. This is one of those things where silence means consent. If we do not reply back to National Grid within a certain period of time, they say, great, the Concom agreed with what their plan is. So we can bring that up. And look in the SharePoint site for information on that. And is that
Usually the issue is using a spray in a watershed of an aquifer drinking.
Yep.
Mendon doesn't have that. Do we? Every homeowner has its own. So we haven't chose to make that.
One of the things I found out during the training is that even though utilities in their letters say they get to do it, whether we tell them to or not, that's not necessarily the case. There are circumstances under which a Concom could push back and complain and get them to change things. So the question is, do we accept their particular letter here, or do we want to have someone spend the time to push back and work with them on something? So Leah, you may want to take a look at this in the
Yeah.
next week and read the fine print. There is a limited period of time, so
You have
if you find
45
something
days.
to look at, then reach out and we'd start a conversation with them.
The issue is that they do spraying or they do cutting or they do whatever it is to maintain lines.
Yeah, this is the high tension wire. Someplace in here should be a map showing where in the town of Mendon.
It's just the high tension wires.
You'd have to read the document and see what.
Yes, they gotta keep those clear, and they will use spray.
Okay.
They don't want to use labor. I'm not sure
Okay.
what the other option is, so, you have to make a strong case.
Okay. Was this in
Makes
your?
my sense.
No, this
It's
is.
on the SharePoint.
I think I believe I forwarded it, but I can check. It's in the SharePoint, yes. And so we got a second one from Eversource with the same thing.
This one came in this morning.
Do we have Eversource? Must have it here in town.
You can scroll down and this
That's
one.
gas line, yeah, we've got gas lines.
Of a source, yeah.
The only issue would be
They're gonna
that
come
there's
here.
endangered species, but I would think the state would have an issue with that, but.
There's no, that part of town is not priority or estimated habitat.
It's pretty near Quistit, isn't it? Or is it- It's the other side of Quistit.
It's Bates.
Spades, yeah.
Yeah. Isabella, would you forward it just in case?
It's in the SharePoint under today's
Okay.
agenda files. I got them in paper. if you want them in. Have time to read through them.
Susan, remember when we were at the gas company on Bayer Street? It's right in that area.
Oh, okay.
Remember the high tension wires that we
Yes.
saw? Those are pretty clean by themselves already.
Okay, next item, agenda item 12, Concom online signing, review status of getting a true attest copy recorded at the Registry of Deeds so that we can do online signing for Mass DEP forms.
I got the check today and I'll either mail it or drive it over sometime next week.
And what's the step that happens after we hand the paperwork and a check to the registry?
The registry will give me back the filed copy with the file number. And then anything we start voting on that you all electronically sign will have, I'll write in the registry of deed number, booking number. Yeah, thank you.
And she has to not hunt people down at their houses with a pen and force them to sign things. Just, okay.
Is that through DocuSign?
We'll work it out.
I think, yeah, I think so.
I
don't know.
Yeah. In the folder that I have of how to do online signing, that's part of it. We haven't got to that section of the document yet. DocuSign, I think, is something you have to pay for because they're a third-party company that works with PDF. So I don't know how we would want to end up doing documentation. I don't want to commit to doing DocuSign. All right, agenda item 13, review building permit activity. COM 23-12, the fence at 149 Uxbridge Street. There's a question of whether this fence was tall enough that it would require a building permit. So I asked Isabella to check in with the building department about what the status of this building permit is. Have you heard back from Jack about it?
No,
Okay,
That's a said fence there.
that's said fence and I don't think
That's
it's
not
over,
very tall.
not over 6 feet. So there's no question on that. He has the building permit on hold for a different reason, nothing to do with us and nothing to do with the actual house. So Gail is trying to find Jack.
And it doesn't come all the way out, so.
Right.
That's,
Well,
I wouldn't have an issue.
it's
the property.
probably 100 feet away from the wetlands on the other side of Route 16, but I want to get people in the habit of, we're going to start questioning them on a building permit that either is within what looks to be a protected buffer zone, or if it's within a priority or estimated habitat for endangered species. Second one, RES 23-338 17th Thayer Road. This one's still on hold as it may be jurisdictional. I forget whether this, yeah, this is. Building permits. Usually there is an attachment with the site plan. This permit does not have one. If they are building the greenhouse in here, it's not jurisdictional. If they're building it back here, we'd have them do an RDA. Because it would be within the 100-foot buffer. So that'll stay on hold until they call in and say, hey, what do I need to do to release the hold? Okay, I'm going to skip ahead to agenda item 15, items not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance. We will now talk about 47 Uxbridge Road. We did a site walk this morning because we got after the agenda was posted on Tuesday, we got a report that there was a whole lot of flooding going on. We met with John Nainart this morning and yep, there's a whole lot of flooding. Could you bring up the email that I sent out with the intermediate and long-term action items? Nope, not that one, the other one. Scroll down. Scroll. Yep, that one. So at the sidewalk, there were 3 areas of concern. The first one, the original order of NOI and order of conditions had a single silt fence between the wetlands on the west-hand side and the construction site. Sometime over the summer, they decided to reinforce it with the triple one and a whole lot of crushed stone and riprap in between the 3 of them. It got completely blown out over the weekend.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, sometime this summer, they upgraded the erosion control?
Yes, and they didn't
notify us?
tell us that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wait, the 3 layers of silt?
the original NOI and OOC said they would have a single silt fence. Over the summer, after they had some storm events, they decided to put in 3 rows and then they put the crushed stone that we saw in between them. And in order to attempt to protect the wetlands. That did not work out okay. The other part of the order of conditions is they have a temporary retention pond that the water is supposed to flow into during a storm event. The silt settles down and then it flows out. That one overflowed because we had so much rain. And Mike, you suggested something with a 90, could you explain what that is? 90-degree angle something?
Right now, they dug a big retention pond where they're going to put water retention area.
It's the stream comes in and hangs out there and it's supposed to hang out so the silt settles.
So they put a temporary pipe in, which directed the water towards Route 16. With this rain, it overflowed their little check dam that they had. All the silt went through the pipe into the wetlands that follow Route 16. What I suggested to John is, as some of these bigger retention ponds have, put a 90-degree elbow on that 2-foot pipe going through.
Yeah.
Put a 3-foot height on the pipe so that now more water can fill into that retention pond, and therefore the silt will be at the bottom. The water can flow over the top on heavy rain, and he agreed that that wouldn't be a problem.
So that's an emergency fix. So this is where, here's the temporary pond. Right here is where stuff, here's the pipe going in and they're gonna put something in like that.
So with that, where you see the stone half circle right there, the water that's right there, it's probably 18 inches down now, but that way overwhelmed that in this last rainstorm.
Mr. Chairman, it's great that you're on it and it's okay for us to make recommendations. I'm concerned that an engineer isn't on this and
Well,
with
I'll-
this stamped and saying what the
I'll
fix
get on
is.
to that. Could you scroll back to the earlier, pick one of the first couple of pictures and we can see the triple siltation fence stuff that they put in. So this is the street, the state highway people came in and did some work on the street because stuff from the street was overflowing into the wetlands. So they,
Yeah, it comes down from the neighbors up the hill and
So-
so down the
so-
highway. and
so
would
they
go
took care of that problem out there.
Or somewhere.
So
That's
here,
weird.
here you can see they've got triple silt barriers with rocks and stuff to try and hold back the flood.
I appreciate the stone in there as an emergency measure, but is that best practice? I mean, because someone's got to clean that out sometime, right? Or is that a temporary measure?
Well, stone,
The stone's in front of the silt fence.
I understand.
the stone flows with the law.
He's hoping that the silt stays on the stone.
Stop the scowl.
Right, but it over blasted that even, right? I wasn't
Well,
able
well,
to see up
okay.
close, so.
Now, here's the other thing that I did. So let me go back to that email that you had up before to list the immediate and then long-term actions. So, the right angle pipe. We walked the siltation fence along the boundary of work, and there are a couple places where trees have fallen down and crushed it, or there were other places where it had fallen down. So he's going to have someone walk that and repair this, staple it back up and get that working. The other thing we talked about is there's a major wetlands impact. There's a whole lot of very fine silt that flowed in over the weekend, and that has to get taken care of. So the first one is he has to go find out and come back with us with how he's going to make sure this doesn't happen again. So that would be coming up with a future site plan that says what they're planning on doing, and it would also have the as-built for the changes they made to put in the additional triple stuff. The other thing that I did today is I sent an email to our Mass DEP circuit writer saying that this property is subject to a enforcement order, or whatever the technical name of it was, and asking her, is this site still being reviewed by Mass DEP, or has Mass DEP turned over all review of this site to us? So if Mass DEP still has an interest in this site, please bring in the right enforcement person from Mass DEP to go out on a site walk. And if Mass DEP is saying it's all our responsibility, then I'm going to get on a phone call with Isabella and Maya saying, okay, what do we do now about this particular site?
We need some help.
Well, that's what I'm trying to set up the phone call so we can work out the details. The most important picture, if you can go back to the photos, is one of the first ones where I had you taking the picture over the siltation barriers, and you can see the wetlands, and there's all sorts of groundwater even after 4 days. So,
It's all brown
Yeah.
in here.
so that is a evidence that during the rain event, there was a major amount of silt flowing out of the hill upstream through the detention pond and just kept on going.
I also want to bring up, no, it's in the end.
Was something coming out of the building or something, or was that?
Yeah,
Yeah, what was that?
Well, the stream originally went there. So that was the
The stream
original
went
stream, and
underneath
then
the
they
building.
rechannelized it under an order.
That's where DEP went, stop
Oh.
that and find them.
so they rechanneled it.
Didn't
It
do
goes,
But the previous owner did. I'll give them that.
it goes through the here and it's supposed to come and cut to the right. Sorry.
That's the one up on the
Supposed to
hill.
cut to the right.
Right.
And come down here and come into the pond here. And then it's gonna be redirected to go through the water to the wetland. But the whole building is like sitting in water and I don't know if it's,
What, is that a new building?
no, this is an old building that they bought, but the basement is continuously flooded.
Actually.
So the stream isn't rerouted because the stream is going
Old building,
down.
two parts. The big part up front was the original one. Then someone built the addition off and they just put it right over the stream.
There's
Then-
their silt.
then the new owner bought it. And then without asking permission, redirected it around. And that's
Okay,
what
that's what it was,
DEP
yeah.
said, okay, we're not gonna,
All of that is new, Peter. Everything that you see there, the concrete floor, the walls, the panels, everything on that building is new.
well, it's an existing footprint.
No, they redid the whole building because the water was eating away below it.
Yeah, it was-
Yes,
Sorry.
the initial DEP action was 2019, 2017, I think, and in 2020, they reached an agreement. And that's where we got the $20,000 to do the Lake Nipmuc work. So my question for Mass DEP is, do they still have a jurisdictional interest in making sure this site is okay? And if not, we'll start paying attention to it. One of the things that I will be exploring with the circuit rider is, given the complete blow through of their existing plan, it makes sense that we ask for, after John Nenart comes up with the plan, we will look at it, and if we're not comfortable, we will ask them to pay for a peer review. This is a case where I think that we have enough standing to actually ask someone to pry open their wallet for a peer review, whereas we, for most plans, we don't.
In the meantime, do they keep working this site?
They're still working on the site. That is something we will talk about with Mass DEP, because if they issue an enforcement order, they stop jackhammering away at the top of the hill. And we have a balance here. We don't want to interfere with their ability to continue working, but if they can't come up with a way to protect against future rain events, we'll take care of it. We did talk about the storm that we're expecting in next Monday. And John said that he would be out there observing what would be happening. We'll see what other observations we need to do on that. So, any questions about the actual activity on the site before I move on to the next thing involving Kevin Mia?
Did you ask about town council about not being able to attend?
That's the next thing I'm going to talk about after. I want to make sure people are comfortable with the site walk, the photos from the site walk,
You guys did a good job.
and what we're doing. Okay, so next one, bring up the email that you had first, where I'm asking Kevin Meehan for clarification. Isabella was informed in writing via text message that Kevin Meehan is refusing to allow Peter Coffin and Leah Whiting onto his property because he doesn't want to give you permission to do it. He further said, I further heard verbally from John Nenart that there's a question of whether you would be recusing yourself from participation in discussions on Kevin Meehan's properties. And so what I am asking here is, clearly you're in a butter for the Hastings Street property, and you have in the past and will continue to recuse yourself from that. But I'm saying that if he feels there should be recusals on other properties, I want him to, in effect, write a lawyer letter where his lawyer says, as per conflict of interest law, state ethics law, what other statutory backing, that he feels there is justification for asking the two of you to recuse on future discussions involving this property.
Can I say something really quick?
Yep. It's a meeting.
I don't even know what Kevin Meehan looks like. If he was sitting here in front of me, I wouldn't know who he was. I find it concerning that somebody would be looking to my information that I have no idea who he is, how I met it. I find it intimidating. I'm a little creeped out by this because I've never had any business dealings with him. I've never done anything with him except make one Facebook comment that didn't even have his name in it. So
The purpose of this email is putting Kevin Meehan and his company and his associate and John Nenart on notice that if they're going to ask for you to do, they're going to ask a board member to demonstrate, to ask for a recusal because they feel you're prejudiced, they have to provide documentation for why they feel that way. They just can't bully you and say, I don't want you talking about my business. So if they come back with a lawyer letter, when I say lawyer letter, it doesn't necessarily mean it's written by a lawyer, but it's a letter that grounds facts and state statutes and bylaws and whatnot. If they come back with that evidence, we will review it and decide whether we ask select board to pull in town council to review that. The way I phrased it to John is the worst case scenario is we have a public hearing and there's a 4-3 vote to deny Kevin the ability to do something. And he stands up and says, 2 of the people should have recused themselves. He's taking us to court. And I said, I don't want to have that happen. Let's get this done ahead of time.
So who can what?
Who what?
Who can enter his property?
The other 5 members of the commission and our agent. The other interesting thing, and that training I took is paying off. There are certain circumstances where a member of the Conservation Commission is allowed to go onto private property without permission when it is subject to certain things. And I didn't, I remember enough to remember seeing this, but if there's an enforcement order which has been upheld by a court, that's definitely a place where the Concom has the right to go on and make sure that the court is being fulfilled. Something I will be following up in our conversation with our circuit writer is if she can jog my memory and tell us where those other conditions are, and then we would have those in our back pocket for future sidewalks. So does that addresses, I believe, what you were talking with me about this morning?
Yes, thank you for this. Just a follow-up question. So how did it, the first information from them was a text message or an email message from them?
Yes.
Yeah, John texted me.
That was not to the Concom, it was to her privately, so I don't want to make that a matter of the public record.
But he texted you saying Peter and Leah shouldn't be there,
Yes.
that Kevin doesn't want to give his permission.
Yes, and that's the homeowner's right. The
So to
property
me, though, that's a public document, because I just want,
You're right.
I just want to track it and then, how it, and so then,
It's now the public, yes.
and then, because I don't mind not being called, but that's okay. And then, because it's happened before, come
Yep.
to the site and then John makes his statement, no, Mr. Meehan doesn't want you here. Well, okay.
Yes, what I'm hoping to get clarification on, as you can see from this, is he asking you to recuse yourself from other properties besides the one that you're in a butter for? And that is separate from, he has the right to say, I don't want you on my property. So that is why that is not being addressed in this letter, in this email.
So thank you. So he needs to make the argument both for Leah, why he thinks Leah shouldn't be there, and he thinks I'm prejudicing him, so he's got.
Well, he doesn't need to give an explanation for why he doesn't want you on his property. He does have to give a reason for why he is expecting you to recuse yourself from votes and deliberations on his projects. So that I'm drawing the distinction there.
Okay.
And once we,
Does that go for Leo also?
Yeah, so for Leah, I don't know which issue it was or what proposal Kevin made, but there was something on either town comment or town social media that you were writing on that they have like the lawyer has filed.
I'd like to see those because I went through all my Facebook posts today.
They claimed that they were deleted since you became a member.
and I would expect to get this in response to this particular letter. If Kevin Meehan decides to not respond to this letter and we do have a 4-3 vote and he blows up at me, then I will be able to take this, town council will be able to take this as showing that we made a good faith effort to resolve the conflict before the meeting, and that will make him look bad and the judge would tend to rule against him in our favor.
Did he mean that I went on Facebook recently and deleted
No,
them,
this
or-
would be a couple years ago.
I don't see anything in my Facebook.
And I don't, My view of this is it's a he said, she said. I'm not going to pay any attention to it at all until such time as they give us a formal response. I'm calling this bluff in effect. You're saying, you're making statements. I'm asking you for evidence to back up your claim.
Mr. Chairman, Carl, I support you and thank you for it. However, at some point, I would want a CC to town council to answer my question as to what my rights are. So maybe that's for me to ask town, but I would think it should be as,
Your rights are.
my
as a
rights as
member.
going on a site visit as a member,
As a member.
as a member. And so,
Well, this is where I will get clarification from our circuit writer. Under what conditions can a Concom member go on private property against the owner's wishes? And what are the limits of that? And then we can, once we find out where in the Mass DEP regulations and the state WPA statute, once we know where to look, then town council could go and say, is this particular parcel now subject to those circumstances? In which case you would be able to go along with everyone else. This ties in with, oh yeah, another things. ID badges. One of the goals of having people get ID badges is that if Kevin Meehan says, why are you on my property? You hold up your Concom badge saying, I'm here on official business, subject to this particular enforcement order as backed up by the statute. So, but the whole goal is to make sure that that kind of police confrontation doesn't happen because we have all our ducks in a row ahead of time.
Can I ask one more question?
Yep.
If I didn't want to recuse myself because I don't know this guy from a hole in the wall, I don't have a prejudice against, he's not making it very easy, but do I have that right? I'm not recusing myself.
right.
feel like
So
I can
it's up
judge
to
this
him to
fairly.
take it to court to invalidate an action because you should have recused yourself. That's his right to try to make that argument. You don't have to recuse yourself.
I don't have a conflict
You
of
don't have to.
interest here. I don't,
Well, this is where I'm asking him to provide documentation to warrant his claim that you should be recusing yourself. And he may come back and say, oh, John misunderstood what I said and pretend this whole thing never happened, or he may come back with evidence. So I'm just saying, this is the current status of this, and we will wait to see what
I
happens in
think
the
what
future.
you're doing is the proper way to.
Yep.
well, I don't know how well I'll sleep tonight knowing that people are trying to bully and intimidate me into recusing myself.
I shall protect you.
Nobody.
Hey, girl.
Allow yourself to think.
There you go.
One of the
Oh,
reasons,
I would hope so, but there's always a kissing contest to use my language.
one of the reasons
Who doesn't?
the reason I'm not bothered by this is for 10 years, I would get in a room with an auditor from the Securities and Exchange Commission and have to prove to them that we followed their SCI, their Reg SCI regulations. So I'm very used to this kind of high stakes negotiating where if I say the wrong thing, the company's going to get fined a couple $1 million. So that's why I'm familiar with the legal process and how to make sure that evidence is done and there's an email chain there.
Right, but I've been sitting on this board where I was threatened with a suit and that I better look after myself.
Yep, well, I
So
wasn't
that is-
chair then.
Excuse me, you weren't the chair. No, you weren't the chair. But yes, don't be intimidated.
Okay,
I'm not. Let's
the last item I want to do is review the minutes. Are there any other items that people wish to bring up at the meeting before we review the minutes? Okay, we actually have minutes from the last meeting.
Nice.
One of the action items that Isabella and I did Monday and Tuesday was first, she did the first draft of the agenda and I went through and made some comments. And then at the same time, we prepared the agenda. That way we made sure everything that's in here was on the agenda and for us to discuss it.
Carl, I'm sorry. What, could you pull up a map on Route 16 where the guy's cutting wood, the logs? He's like using up all his land and there's a stream.
Which
And I-
property?
Right, almost in Uxbridge. I don't know if you know, it's been there a long time. He's got logs right out there,
What side of 16?
the
Are you
north side.
talking that where the, yeah, you're talking where the marble guy is.
Yes, before the
Yeah,
fireplace.
that's the one that has the DEP enforcement order on it.
Hold on, give me a property number,
think
so
it's
that when
149.
Isabella writes up the minutes, she can write down what property you're talking about.
Well, don't quote me on that, but I believe it is.
Well, it's probably right where this,
Is that those, the sawmill?
yes.
Across from Taft,
Yeah, so it's underneath your boxing. right?
Howley's Auto.
Yes, it's cross.
So where the fence is?
Oh, it's different
And
than
it's the
that.
pond there, right?
The pond is a little bit before.
Drive on this every day, right?
But
Yeah.
it's here, isn't it? Because he doesn't have much of a structure, right? Isn't it there? Because isn't this Howley's here?
Who? This is like, this is where we were just discussing the
Fence.
fence is
Right.
coming right between these two. What do you mean by like pile of logs? What do you mean?
Where is it? I don't know, but there is, because this isn't the,
Okay, Peter,
when you drive-
here's what I want you to do.
Yeah.
If you think there's a problem, do what any public citizen would do. Call her, call the Concom number and say,
just finding out.
here's the issue. And then on her way home someday, our agent will take pictures and put them on the SharePoint site. She'll send out a text message saying, take a look at it, and we can decide whether we want to do something before the next meeting.
You don't have an, because that's not ortho photos.
You can
Oh.
drop down the layer. Go to layers, not there, go layers, bottom one, 2021 aerial. It's the fastest way.
Sorry. This is like the fireside.
Royal Fireside.
This is here, right?
Well, right across the street, isn't that Howley's and Champagne's?
Yeah.
Right.
So these are the logs, I think, because isn't this a stream coming here? With a wetland, and he's got like, all this is areas filled with logs.
Yeah, so what's,
Yeah.
is,
So then my question, he's a commercial guy, trying to make it. So if the stream is there, is he doing work in the buffer? I imagine so. There's a lot more logs here now.
yeah,
okay?
no, it's like.
Eh,
full of
so
logs. Okay, yeah.
I don't- I don't want to get back,
What's your concern?
it's impacting the buffer.
Click and say what address that is.
141.
In the
Great.
buffer, storing logs within 50 feet of the stream. I don't know where the stream is there, and I don't,
No, okay.
I drive by 45 miles an hour.
Again, I'm pretty sure that stretch of road.
Screen. Gallon, most streets.
Yes. But that shouldn't make a difference. It shouldn't, but it does, it's he's trying to make a business, and I don't want to shut down sawmills, but
No, the marble is gonna be one of these ones. Here, maybe.
That one because it dumps.
well, that was with the dumpster and then the
Please,
fill
no,
behind, that
no,
was the other issue.
yeah.
That's been solved.
Yes.
That was all wetlands at one time and DEP got involved in that. Now they have more dirt there and they have more activity going on there.
They removed that pile and they've straightened it out, it's cleaned it up. I haven't been.
But what's the elevation? The elevation
That wasn't wetland.
it is not what it was when it first started.
That wasn't what,
Huh?
we went out there, because, what's his name, moved that house in the behind there, one of the Mennonites. It's,
There was all cow slippers back there at one time. That's the water that goes over to that other pump, the other wetland on the other side.
that house got moved back, that house was up front, and they rebuilt it.
But I'm talking off to the right-hand side of it, where they put that riding arena and stuff like that. That was all cow slippers back there.
Okay, I want to separate out the two things. First one for 141 Uxbridge. Peter, are you going to investigate further, or what do you?
Yes, I would. Yes,
Okay. So you can investigate further, and if you think that there is activity taking place within a protected buffer zone, you contact the Mendon Conservation Commission at our phone number, and then Isabella, our agent, will start looking into it. Okay, now, Bob, what property are you talking about?
Was it 109?
Right across, the
Marble.
marble, it's 120,
Remove all that under there.
127 and 123. No,
Did that ever have a plan for it?
Originally,
Well, what my point is, now they're bringing in lumen, stuff like that, and if that was a wetland, which I know the people that live right aside of that, and it had cow slippers and elephant lettuce in there. Now it's not, and now it's gonna be
What
grass.
property is that?
This is where they had the stone. And then before that, it was the Mennonites had
Yeah,
the
Bay State structures.
Bay
remember?
State structure.
Yeah.
And then behind here, they had the dumping.
Old trailers there.
At one time, yeah. Well, now that whole area in the back has all been raised and
Yeah.
Okay, so what parcel?
So
is
is there a
that?
wetland back there?
127.
Beforehand,
Fairpoint site.
before they put that pile, he's saying underneath that pile would have been a wetland.
Okay, everybody, you can log in and do this yourself if you want to look up stuff on a particular parcel.
Fair enough. Well, we almost ready for the motion to adjourn?
No, we have minutes.
Ah,
Then we can do.
We were, but then you started.
I know.
Yeah, man. I'm hungry now.
My point has been made. Okay, so, this is the, the minutes, I've already reviewed them carefully and worked out the wording. The goal is that before our next meeting in hopefully 4 weeks, we would have, Isabella preparing the minutes for tonight and the minutes for 1 month ago. And then at some point, we will be having a contractor come up with minutes between January and October. So expect a lot of minutes coming before us in the next couple of months.
Came late. Did you already take care of?
Wait until
Yes,
people
yes,
are.
that was the first.
Good.
Yep. So anybody have any corrections, emendations, additions, deletions?
Very thorough.
That's the goal, because the minutes are searchable. And one of the things I do is when I get somebody calling in about, hey, what's going on at 74th Northbridge? I go into the Sarah Point site, type in 74 Northbridge, and I get to see all of the agendas and minutes that people have been discussing it over the past couple of days.
It's nice to get back. Thank you for.
Yep. All right, so I need a motion to approve.
Motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting,
Give it a
11:30.
11.
November 30th, 2023. Is there a second?
second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay. There being no further business scheduled or that people want to bring up,
Motion to adjourn.
is there a second?
Second, third, fourth.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting ends at 9:10 PM.
So if there is a meeting.
Hold on, wait until the recording stops. Okay, now you can start chit chat.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, if there